Welcome back to Radiant Talk Conversations of Life. I am your host, Katina Ammons, and today my special guest is Mr. Titus Broom. Titus speaks. He is a motivational speaker, a writer, a poet, an author. My classmate, it's an honor to have you here with me today.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Welcome. Today, our topic is decision making and the impact that it can have on your life. Okay. And I chose you because you have a book, Things God Whispered to Me. And although reading that book, that has nothing to do with why you're here. All right. I want you to first give me a summary. We went to high school together. Right? 91. Ooh, you're old.
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay. I want you to tell me from our last interaction in high school to your book on what has taken place with Titus. Titus Speaks.
Well, while we were in high school, I mean, I had low self-esteem despite what it looked like. Despite what it looked like, at the time I was walking. But I was a follower back then. I always, if somebody had the latest J's or Jordans, if somebody was doing something, I always wanted to follow. And unfortunately, my decision making led me to follow those friends of ours that went to school with us that led to drug dealing. So yeah, I graduated from high school, and that was a good decision, and my parents were proud. But in the community, I was always drawn to those kids that had more than I had, because I was raised by my grandparents,
Right.
and they couldn't buy me all of the things that my friend, at that time, I thought it was about having things.
Right.
So I associated myself with those friends that had those things, and they said, well, if you want these things, then sell drugs. So I started selling drugs. That was a decision that I made, to follow that path of going into the streets, selling drugs. I started selling drugs. Really disregarding the love that I was given. You know what I'm saying? Again, like I said, going back to what I said, I started caring more about the things that I had rather than the love that I was already given. And so I started following that path of being a drug dealer, selling drugs in the community, got the cars and got the things, not understanding that I was destroying my family. Like you said, summarize. So my decision making at the time caused my grandmother's home that I was raised up in to get invaded by the police. They strip searched my 89-year-old grandmother.
Amazing. You know what? It's interesting because, like you said, on the outside,
Right.
when I knew you in high school,
Right.
I would have never imagined 30 years later I would be that you would be in a wheelchair. Okay.
Right.
Not to take away from that, because
Right.
it's all in our journey,
Right.
But Titus, you were so shy and so peekabooish, if that's a word or not, but
Right.
you were just so confined, if I would,
Right.
that you were a passerby. Like, you wasn't, remember David Farr, rest in peace. You wasn't Farr sitting in the hallway, like, Rowdy, this is what I am.
Right.
And I know that you and him both grew up in the same communities in that vicinity.
Right.
So that would have been my expectation of him, bless his heart. You know
Right.
what I mean? But you were so opposite that it blows my mind still, to hear some of the things that you have endured.
Right.
And again, Radiant Talk was built off of Psalms 34:5, and it states that it's a platform built that those that come unto him would come with no shame.
Right.
So this is a platform that I have established for me, for my guests to come before you, to tell their story like Titus and not be judged and just be transparent, because there still goes on this day, the same fight that you had to come through, that you lived through it,
Right.
That would empower our youth. And at this point in society, I feel that they're falling so fast by the wayside with young men, specifically speaking, young black men, of course, that they don't have that lead. And a lot of them do follow Titus. You know what I
Right.
mean? They do follow that fast money trend, because on the flip side, you have the women that always feel that they need to be catered to from the man.
Right.
You know, that they're not really teaching them the accountability, your core value, who you are as a woman. So they put more pressure on men. And then the jobs are not out there, you know, as well to help stabilize. It's a hard transition to come from the street into the corporate and still make the same money to where I don't have to think about going backwards. You know what I mean?
Right.
So with that being said, when you got your money, okay, in the streets, did you invest it? What did you do?
In the beginning, no, that wasn't even a thought. Towards the end, that was a thought. But like you say, you know, when you're doing something wrong and you're drawing all that negative energy to yourself without thinking that you got all this money, when I started thinking about, oh, let me open up a store, let me clean this money up and do this, the police was already coming by that time. You know what I'm saying?
So you were still young then. This was right after high
like
school.
20.
Did you go to college?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Not at that time. I went later.
Right.
But at that time, no, it just went, you know, high school, straight to the street. Yeah.
What does your shirt say?
I motivate. What's your superpower?
My superpower is me. Nah. And what is that? www.
TitusSpeaks.org.
I like that brand.
Yeah, that's the brand.
Titus Speaks.
Yeah.
Who do you speak to?
I speak to, I would love this, I don't want to pigeonhole myself and say just the youth, but that's my passion, you know what I'm saying? But Titus speaks to anybody, you know what I mean? It's anybody that's listening. And when I say Titus speaks, it's not just, you know, me going to a school or to a church or to a prison or to a jail, talking to a young person, you know what I'm saying? Which that is what I do. I write, you know what I'm saying? When I say Titus speaks, I speak when I put some on Instagram. I speak when I put some on Facebook. I speak whatever God migrates to my mind. That's Titus speaking. You know what I'm saying? Right now, Titus is speaking. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he absolutely is. Hey.
So, you know what I'm saying? But it's just these opportunities because I believe that out of all what God has allowed me to go through.
Oh,
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
What this?
Okay.
Tell me.
What happened?
Tell me.
For the wheelchair.
Tell me.
Well, you know, my mom always used to say that the devil will make you go farther than you want to go, stay longer than you want to stay, do more than you want to do. And, you know, that's what I heard growing up. But by the time I was out there and that happened and I got comfortable, you know what I'm saying? Me and the devil was boys, I thought, you know. And all of a sudden, a guy that I called friend, a guy that I knew, a guy that came to my house, that knew my grandmother, that knew my mother, that knew my family. You know, he set me up in my grandmother's house. Could have got my grandmother killed and me. And the funny part about that, I want to point out something that even though when I was out there doing that negative stuff and how I talked about how my decisions caused the police to come into my grandmother's house, it's amazing how the love kicked back in because when the guy set me up July 19th, 1995, and
4 years after graduation. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So here come these guys he comes into my house. And I thought it was weird that he was there because I was there to pick up my mom because I didn't even live there. And
So you didn't invite him there?
I didn't invite him there that day.
So you didn't know that he was coming there?
I didn't know he was coming there. I literally went to my grandmother's house to pick up my mother to take her to the beauty salon. When I arrived, she was mysteriously gone. And the best friend had taken her away. So I was like, why would he do that? So by the time I'm asking the question, I'm hollering in the back room asking my grandmother what did she want to eat. Me and my little brother's there. Then all of a sudden the best friend comes in and I'm asking him, why did you do that? He said, oh, I was just doing you a favor. But I could tell he was looking very nervous. But still I'm not thinking. And then all of a sudden my little brother says there's some guys running across the front yard. By this time, the guys come to the door. By the time I get to the front door, broad daylight residential area, this is not in the hood. They come in with guns drawn.
Note to self.
Note to self. They come in with guns. I back up, put my hands up. I'm looking, you know, I'm looking at my friend because he got his hands up at the time. My little brother is standing there. He like 9 or 10. And they look at the friend and tell him, call him by his name and say, you can leave. We'll kill him like you want us to.
Your best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. This wasn't a stranger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your best friend.
He set it up. And yeah, he ended up leaving. And my point that I want to bring out is it's amazing how that love that my grandfather, they say train up a child in the way that they should go, and even if they stray. Mm-hmm. Now, I was way to straight away. But at that time, when these guys came into my grandmother's house, mm-hmm. Now, mind you, I wasn't thinking about grandma when I was out there selling dope. I wasn't thinking about when I was out there being that type of example.
Right.
But the moment those guys came in there with that gun and that guy left out, and one of the guys heard my grandmother yelling in the living room to me, asking me what was going on, and one of those guys started down the hall with the gun to my grandmother, I didn't care about the gun. I didn't care about nothing. All I wanted to do was save my grandmother, was save my brother. Mm-hmm. And so I jumped in front of the gun and was like, she ain't got nothing to do with it. So I came up with this elaborate story. Look, I got a bunch of money outside in the car. Let's just go outside. Mm-hmm. They think about, it's supposed to be a murder, but they think about, ooh, money and murder? Mm-hmm. So I said, you can do what you want to me. Let's just go outside. They listen, by God's grace and mercy. We go outside. Of course, there is no money outside.
Right.
A neighbor came out and said, what are y'all doing? And they say nothing. I take off and run. I said, they trying to rob me. They start shooting. Now watch this. Don't punch me on TV. They hit me in they hit me in the hip with one of the bullets hit me in the hip. Mm-hmm. But I'm still up. Mm-hmm. I'm away. Guys run away. I look back from behind the house where I ran, and I see one of the guys in my BMW. Again, now my mind done reverted back to stuff. Mm-hmm. I think this guy done come up in my grandma's house and disrespected my grandma. I'm going to go back out here. And I ain't got no gun.
And you still hit.
And I'm still hit. I go back out there with a brick, a big cinder block brick. Mm-hmm. The guy's in my car trying to take it. The other guys done ran because it was 3 of them. The other guys done ran. I could hear people screaming, no, don't go back. He's in your car. I take the brick, I sling it in the car, I hit the guy.
So nobody called the police?
Now, they probably did by this time, but
okay.
You know. Mm. So I hit the guy in the head with the brick. But as I hit him, he's pointing the gun. And even though I hit him and he is knocked unconscious, he shoots. I turn and the bullet comes through the back of the window and ricochets off a fence and hit me straight in my back. And I fall. And I'm busy trying to get up. And I can't get up. Mm-hmm. And the guy comes to, police still ain't there. Guy comes to.
What's that song? 911's a joke.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The guy puts the car in reverse. My car. This thing that I esteem so highly. And he's getting ready to run me over with the car. Now here's where it gets supernatural. God intervenes. Now I'm this drug dealer. Mm-hmm. I'm this dude that done all this stuff. Mm-hmm. This car is rolling down a hill.
The car that you cherish.
The car that I cherish. Mm-hmm. He's rolling the car down the hill to run me over.
Mm-hmm. After you've been shot up.
After I've been shot up. I can't get up. I'm trying to. The car literally comes to my foot. And he's revving it. I'm looking over my shoulder, seeing the car like he's trying to make, and it will not run me over. Mm. Now I believe that's God.
Won't he do it? Won't he will?
So the guy gets out the car. He continues to shoot me up, and multiple times. And after he shoots me up, I lay there and I turn over, and all of a sudden, Katina, it was like, I always tell young people, I say, it's something about when you think when you're living and you think you got all of these options, but then all of a sudden when I was laying there with my Mr. Drug Dealer self thinking I was the bomb and thinking I had all of this stuff, all of a sudden I felt like somebody wrapped their hands around my throat and I couldn't breathe. It was, the thing that was so easy to do before. I'm dying. And now all of the things that grandma told me about God and all of these things, now here I find myself, that's going to be remembered. If I died that day as a drug dealer, as nothing, I'm going to die a drug dealer. I'm thinking about this now. I'm getting ready to die. I'm getting ready to go to hell. And I don't want to die like this.
You don't want to burn?
And I'm looking and I'm seeing my grandmother standing outside now. I'm looking at my little brother standing outside. I'm looking at all of these people in the community standing there.
Watching you.
Looking at me. Watch this. That watched me when I first rolled my tricycle down the same sidewalk. See, I ain't talking about somewhere off in the cut. This was the same house that my mother brought me from when she had me. This is the same house that I learned my granddaddy held the bicycle and taught me how to ride. Now in that same driveway, on that same sidewalk, I'm dying.
Yeah, because you're Charlotte native, right?
Charlotte native, born and
Amazing.
raised. In the same neighborhood, here I was dying. And they put me in the ambulance and they say, we're losing him. And I remember stopping breathing. It was like pushing pause on a DVR. And I remember everything just being still. And again, that drug dealer, all that, I couldn't talk no more. When they said we're losing him, and I remember, and it just was, they would look like they were frozen. And all I could think to say was, God, please accept me into your kingdom. God, please accept me into your kingdom. And then all of a sudden, everything started back moving. So that's this.
I am just overtaken.
Yeah.
And I'm not often speechless, but I am. For several reasons. One, it's amazing, that God is who he is and he's faithful through our wrongs or our rights. He said, if you abide in me, I will abide in you. And that's not contingent upon if you stay or not.
Right.
So he's not a fair weather friend. So that is such confirmation to myself, just knowing that the decisions that I make, because I make some wrong, even if it's a thought, that it's a consequence. It impacts my life one way or the other. Right. So to hear, that's just a portion of your journey, and the opportunity you have to redeem yourself because you're still here.
Right.
As I've stated before, that I built this platform. Let me correct that. This platform was built 5 years ago through God speaking to me. Right. Didn't know how it was going to play out. Didn't know what it was going to do. Right. But I knew that it would come to fruition only because who the deliverer was, who birthed it.
That's right.
So now that you have been redeemed and you are restored and you've witnessed life and life at the hand of man. Right. Okay. Where do you stand now to transition back and give back to the community? What is it that, understand, we know that